Welcome back to the BetCanada channel. Katie Caldwell and Jeff Lloyd back here with you. Jeff, it's another day, and NFL sack leader Trey Hendrickson is still unsigned with the Bengals. Does this deal get done? And if so, when?
Well, the thing what you have here is it seems like, and every time they go to Trey Hendrickson, it seems like, will the Bengals say, well, no, will you take a little less? Will you take a little less? Will you come down off your demands? And,
Like it's Trey
Trey
Hendrickson.
Hendrickson, honestly, right now could stand there and say, I probably deserve to be the two-time defensive player of the year. Nobody in the NFL has more sacks over the last two seasons than Trey
Yep.
Hendrickson. He has been absolutely phenomenal for that franchise. And that was and this is where it's puzzling from Cincinnati's standpoint is very rarely is Cincinnati dabbling in the free agent market. And Hendrickson was one that they did. And they opened
Yep.
up their checkbooks and they got him to Cincinnati. And what has Hendrickson done since there? Done nothing but dominate. So, if I'm Hendrickson, you know what? You paid Burrow, you
Mm-hmm.
paid Chase, you paid Higgins. That's all you have. Your first round pick went back to the campus of his college because he's so frustrated with your contract procedures. At least I want to play for you. Could you just at least satisfy me monetarily? Does it get done? Unless the Bengals open up the checkbooks, I don't know how. Because I mean, when you listen to Trey Hendrickson talk, it seems pretty stern. And it certainly does not help that Myles Garrett in March got a massive contract. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
help, and this is probably what really, really stuck it to the Cincinnati Bengals, is that the Pittsburgh Steelers gave a contract to TJ Watt that I don't think they are ever going to get the satisfaction of that deal. It feels like Pittsburgh's paying of TJ Watt was paying for the past of TJ Watt, necessarily the future. Last year,
Okay.
TJ Watt, you couldn't find him for the second half of last season. Basically was on a milk carton. He just, yes, I don't want to hear he was injured. If you were out there, you were expected to perform. So if you were not good enough to perform, then maybe you should not have been out there. But this really stuck it to the Bengals because now here's Hendrickson saying, well, Garrett's in my division, got paid. TJ Watt's in my division, got paid. You're paying everybody else. Micah Parsons is going to get his money. Jerry Jones, as much as he's an old senile guy at times, he's not going to go into this season without his most effective defensive player. The Bengals have no bargaining power here. All Hendrickson is asking for is what he is due compared to his compatriots. It's that simple. Why does he need to take a hometown discount? He gambled by going to Bengals,
Exactly.
and now he won. And you know what? Pay me. It's simple for
Mhm.
Trey Hendrickson, in my opinion.
If the Bengals don't budge, which it feels like they're not, are we looking at a long holdout or even a possible trade? Just if you're the Bengals, how can you let that happen?
Well, if the Bengals, there's only so many times you can go back and, basically get told no. So at what point
Exactly.
do you say, well, do we move them? And, but the problem is at this point in time, you move them, somebody may say, sure, I'll give you a draft choice, which doesn't do anything for the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals in any way whatsoever. That's not going to help this team. And, Hendrickson obviously knows his worth to this team, knows his worth to that defense. That defense right now is in really, really bad shape as far as, players there that can actually perform.
Yeah.
And to trade him, the question is at this time, and people are kind of spending, the last of their money. There's still some teams, obviously. Where's the team that can just say, oh, well, I can give Trey Hendrickson his 30 something million, da da da. It's not going to be a situation that Trey Hendrickson necessarily is in a hurry to go to. You
Mhm.
look at the teams who usually have the most cap space. They're the teams that most everybody anticipates are not going to be that relevant this year.
Yeah.
So for Trey Hendrickson, it's, where's the win here? Okay, I get my money, but, I'm going to go play for a team that, may end up out of the playoffs once again. So, they dug this hole. And, look, I don't disagree with the fact that, hey, Burrow, Chase, Higgins are their best chance.
Mhm.
But then they should have been a little bit more open and honest with Trey Hendrickson and say, look, we can afford three big contracts. We can't afford four. They don't
Mhm.
have the general they just don't have the general finances that other NFL teams do. They just don't.
Yeah.
And, there's no reason teams should look to them or players should look to them or agents and feel sorry
Hmm.
and, will do you a favor. And it's not like Hendrickson has this long time relationship with Burrow and Chase and Higgins, where he'll take the discount. And you notice that, when all those talk are going on, Chase, Burrow, Higgins, nobody was saying, well, you know what? Hey, I'll leave some on the table if we make sure we can get Trey Hendrickson
Yep,
satisfied as well.
that's a
So
good
for
point.
Hendrickson, I understand the frustration. I truly, truly do. And it's not a team or a franchise or an area in the United States that a lot of people necessarily truly want to be. But
Hmm.
he took the gamble on them. The Bengals, if you just don't have the money, then you're just wasting everybody's time at this point.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's going to just show up for no reason. He'll show up, what is it, usually week 8, week 9. So you get your accrued year towards,
Hmm.
obviously, all the benefits that come to you later in your career. Because I just don't think there's a lot of teams that, can fit him in financially that necessarily would be a desire that Hendrickson would want to go to.
Quick pause. If you haven't subscribed to the BetCanada YouTube channel, you can do so below. It's free and it helps support our channel so we can keep bringing you NFL and NHL content. Now, back to the show. We've talked about it, I feel like, time and time again on this show now, that the Bengals offense is not the problem. Their defense is still a huge problem. You don't want to be losing one of your biggest pieces on that. Joe Burrow called it disappointing. What does that tell you anything about where the locker room and where the players are at about this?
I don't think they're fooled. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
and it is a fine line because, for the guys who got theirs, you kind of got to be, respectful to those that are trying to get. Look, everybody wants everybody to get paid. Nobody
Yeah.
has any. As long as I get mine, I don't care if you get yours.
Hmm.
But I do believe it is Joe showing his frustrations. And I think everybody, when they had that magical run and came oh so close in the Super Bowl, everybody was like, well, wow, this is a team legitimately with staying power. You got two great wide receivers, you've got the quarterback. But then when most teams take a look at the Chiefs. So you
Hmm.
paid Mahomes, you paid your defensive star, you paid Kelsey, but yet they were still able to go on about their business and do other moves.
Yeah.
The Bengals, it always felt like it was a mirage. It always felt like it was a fool's gold because of the fact that they're just limited financially compared to these other 31 franchises. And it's, I don't want to necessarily call them the Oakland A's of the NFL, but it does certainly feel kind of like the Cincinnati Bengals for the Oakland A's of the NFL. So the
Mm.
question then that comes, where are Burrow, Chase, and Higgins in a year, 2 years, where they realize that they may be great, they may be putting up all numbers in the world, but this team and this franchise is just not financially built to compete in the NFL today.